Greetings. Today I got an email that told me Congress, the House of Representatives, voted on a bill to decimate internet privacy. And I guess the gist of it is that ISPs will be able to sell all your information, your browsing history, etc., to the highest bidder. So everything you do on the internet. And of course to the government, but I mean the government knowing every click or having access to every click, every keystroke is, nothing new. I'm sure this just deepens that institutionality of them being able to spy on us. And this is really concerning. Our privacy originally was decimated under the guise of terrorism. We were all scared into giving up a bunch of our rights. We did so. We created institutions that now have a self-interest in preserving themselves, and the slipping of privacy and power of the citizen increases because, what they didn't, I don't think they said it was terrorism this time. Why are they allowing this to happen? Well, they got money. They got money from the internet service providers. They sold us out, however they do it, whatever, they get a few $100,000. The internet service provider can use us as products to sell. And it gets worse than that. You got to see what is the logical conclusion of these things in a ever-changing environment, in an ever-changing world where technology continues to advance and AI is, on the verge of being a reality. The thing is, algorithms always improve, computing power continues to improve. So to me, the logical conclusion is the government, these people are going to know you better than you know yourself, because they're going to be able to store a lot more information, judge you objectively. It's basically, they have a window to your brain. If as time goes on, the less and less you have to expose to them for them to understand what exactly is going on. So, you say, why is that bad? Well, let's just say the government, decided to be tyrannical. They were no longer representing the populace, but representing themselves, or, big business, which is what's taking place now. You got Walmart basically being subsidized by the taxpayers because they don't pay their employees enough, so their employees have to file for food stamps. And Walmart family, the Waltons, one of the richest families in the world, and that's a prime example of what it is. It's like, it's not laissez-faire capitalism because we're supporting them, and they're allowed to consolidate in power and wealth. It's like it's a perverse version of libertarianism, where these guys, these massive corporations, become basically the government. So you got these guys more and more knowing what all of us do, and computing power is increasing. They have everything there, or they will very soon, to enslave us. We're already wage slaves. We work, we think we have shit, but we end up basically dying with nothing, the majority of us. The difference is, if we awake, we won't be able to stop it. The difference is they can monitor eventually how awake we are, because they have the supercomputers to look at what words are being stated and to get a good gauge on how the population's feeling. And now they're working with Facebook and Google to call things fake news, and Google's working with all types of other countries to do whatever they want, or Facebook, and silence dissent and everything else. However, put these on. However they feel. So the writing's on the wall. And the sad thing is, it's worse than the average person thinks, because the average person thinks, okay, well, they're kind of selling us out, not a big deal. But it's worse, because if you encage someone's mind, you don't need chains, and that's what's gone on. And the thing is, the indoctrination that we have suffered as Americans has not been limited just to a certain population. We all get it. It feeds into our universities, and the CIA has admitted to infiltrating our universities. They've admitted to publishing thousands of books. So all this serves to indoctrinate even the people that govern. So the lawyers and the majority of the House of Representatives and the Senate historically, and presidents, have been lawyers. They're not scientists, they're not doctors, they're not experts in certain fields. They're experts in law. And what is law? Law is control. It's a system. It's how to create a system of control. So that's what these guys know how to do. And they've been indoctrinated by the same nonsense that has allowed the rulers before them to keep a population in line. So they don't even think they're bad people or what they're doing is bad. They just think, oh, it's not a big deal. This corporation's going to do this, but nothing much is going to change. I'm going to get a lot of money. But it's not stopping, and the power is only accumulating. Real bad outcome when you think about what it could mean for the future, or what it already means. And the more you learn about history, the more you learn that what we've been fed is a complete joke. I saw someone had a post today about robots. What can we do as robots increasingly take away jobs? And I put tax mechanization and nationalized resources. Those two things could be used as a pool for social services. And with increased mechanization, more and more resources and items should, in theory, all else being equal, be easier to acquire. So really less people should have to work. And that has been happening. Worker productivity per person has increased, since the 70s. Thing is, wages haven't, even as the job base has shrank. And so what has happened is that capital has gone, into the pockets of the rich. And these are the big business owners that have, been able to supplant the labor for the tool or the computer or the robot. And so those are the things over everything that should be taxed. So there's not really a huge incentive, but even more than that, it's just for the good of the citizenry, because you can't just keep saying you need to get a job, everybody, you guys are lazy, or you need to invent something, and stop fucking crying and stop waiting for somebody to give you a job. But at the same time, you have robots doing everything and supercomputers solving problems. It makes no sense. So what I see is an incredible lack of foresight in the media. I mean, it's like the self-perpetuating war on terror, alleged war on terror, which everyone knows it should know it's not, but some people don't. And some people really think, oh, we should bomb it more. Thing is that's what creates a terrorist. And there's very violent texts in the Christian religion, like rape somebody, but marry her if you're found out, beat your slave as long as they live for 2 days before they die, because they're your property. Even Jesus said he came to bring a sword, and that you needed to love him more than your family, or you weren't worthy. stone the non-believers, stone anybody who protests, that you're stoning the non-believers. And that's in, the Christian Bible. And I've read the whole, not all at once, but in various, I've pretty much, I don't know if I've read the whole thing. I probably have, and I've definitely read the New Testament back to front. We're not much different than the Muslims. You can look at, under the Ottoman Empire, when they conquered Spain, how they treated the Spanish. You could go back to Saladin, as opposed to Richard the Lionheart. They protected the texts, such as Plato, from us, basically, in the Christians during, the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages. It was the Christians who burnt down the Library of Alexandria, which is one of the most horrendous attacks on human history ever to have happened. Because in the Library of Alexandria, every time a port came in, which was named after Alexander after he conquered, that party. Well, he conquered Egypt from the Persians. So you ever heard of Alexandria Lighthouse? Anyways, they had this library there, curated by a woman at the time. But every time a ship would come in, and there'd be a lot of trading going on in the Mediterranean, it was law that the scrolls would have to be taken and whatever copied, transcribed into the Library of Alexandria. So just an incredible amount of information was destroyed by that fire that the Christians had caused. So all this nonsense after we bomb and destabilize and have secret military coups, or coups promoted by the CIA, going back to Iran, and all these people that don't know their history and just watch news. Get over yourself. I was just like you. I thought we were better in every single way, basically, but it's not true. If you know the history, it's not true. So don't increase bombs expecting to make the Middle East a better place. Don't just close your eyes to increased computers in the workforces and think that they can't take over all the jobs. Sure, some jobs might be protected by law, especially, I would guess, a lawyer would be protected by law since they fucking make the laws, so they're going to protect their own self-interest. Possibly doctors, probably doctors, at least for quite some time. But a lot of jobs already are obsolete. It's just it hasn't become cost effective to make that switch to robots yet. So yeah, back to internet security. Like, these people, they're half ignorant, half corrupt. They believe themselves to be good, but the writing's on the wall. Whoever they are, whatever, and you talk about the deep state, the corporatocracy, they're gaining control over the minions, and they've been preparing for riots. Like, how are we going to ever get our country back? I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm an American, and I want my country back. And people are being distracted day in and day out, and we're in such a bad paradigm that you repeat a lie over and over and over. It seems to be true. It's so hard for a person that understands so many sides to even keep that truth alive. Not to mention try to give it to other people, because every time you say one thing to somebody, if you don't completely explain it, they misconstrue it and think you're biased or ignorant in something else. And who has the time to explain? I mean, I would love to, but I don't have the resources. And even if somebody does have enough resources and time, most people aren't listening anyways. So what do? Big conundrum. So to wrap it up, I don't want to promote some slippery slope philosophy of reasoning, some fallacious reasoning where you think, one little thing's going to create some snowball effect. But you got to look at things with momentum. You got to be a visionary. And there has to be visionaries and dystopic visionaries, people that can see the possible negatives. It's great to live in la la land and not pay attention to any of it. Um, but and they say ignorance is bliss. No more so than in this. Um, but you got to take heed. You got to take heed of negative stats as well. And we've with like nuclear weapons, we were lucky several times where we almost basically were annihilated because of human error. They don't talk about it very much, and yeah, things work themselves out, but things don't always work themselves out. They did it for the dinosaurs. They did it for many local populations or civilizations that have been conquered by other civilizations, or when empires fell, and the world was plunged into the dark ages. We're in the greatest extinction right now in modern history, where like 1,000 organisms are going extinct a year. You got to take into account these things as well. And when they're involving our government, uh, the people with the power, and the signs are all around that their power is increasing, and yet at the same time their information, you heard knowledge is power, information is power. Information age, where knowledge stays backstage. But anyways, they're increasing on those fronts, and they're also increasing their military budget, and also they've increased the amount massively. They've put military equipment on the streets of America. While they're pushing for war for other countries. So a lot of things, and you see cooperation, with Facebook and Google, with other governments, silencing, censoring people that don't believe in the government's God, or do believe in a God where the government doesn't believe in the God. So they obviously don't have any qualms. Those companies aren't really working with any high moral values. They're looking at the dollar figure, um, as opposed to protecting free speech. So we got to be aware of the world we live in. Don't give, stop giving these people, or people need to wake up, especially the older generations, and stop paying attention to these media sources. This hyper corporatism that has infected the business world, where it's just about the bottom line. There's no humanism in it. And these corporations have presented us with our two choices of government officials from both sides of a two-faction, one-party business party system, and they've paid for the people that were presented to vote for. So that corporate culture has infected everything, pervaded political, and economic, and geopolitical life with weaponry, weapon cells, the military-industrial complex, everything. And the only hope we have is giving information to each other, and they're already fighting that. YouTube's changed their algorithms to kind of to thwart independent media, calling it fake news. They demonetize things for like stupid ass reasons. So they're fighting against us, we the few, but at the same time there's millions of us, millions that are awake, and don't let them tell you different. Don't let them make you think that you're alone. At the same time, we always have to work to spread the message, even if you just wake up one person a week, whatever, one person a month, or just do something, do your part, because the longer it goes, the harder it's ever going to be to fight. And we're at a pivotal time with how technology is increasing, and they have it's the government that has the money to harness the power of these supercomputers and everything else, the NSA and all their tools. All right, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Goodbye.